Hey guys, how's it going? This is Chappie with Intent Cycles, and on today's edition of Tech Tutorials, we're going to run you through a simple pre-ride check. It's not something that everybody does, but it's something I prefer to do. It just ensures that we don't run into any mechanical issues while we're out on the trail. So let's go ahead and get started. First things first, we're going to just make a quick run through the gears. Everything's nice and crisp, smooth, no grinding, no sliding, no anything silly. So it looks like we're all good. No issues there. So next step is we're going to go ahead and check our tire pressures. For me, my personal preference is I like about 27 psi in the front and around 29 in the back depending on conditions. So we'll go ahead and check our tire pressures. Throw this guy on there. So we're starting at 35, so we know we need to let out. So there we have 29 psi. So we know we're good there. We're going to lock that valve stem up. Next step after we have gone through the gears and checked tire pressures is we're going to check our pressures in our suspension. Now this is something that, for me personally, I keep a little notebook, and my notebook has all my settings, whether it be for tire pressures, shock changes, shock rebound, compression, pressures, or if there's anything I'd like to change in the future. So refer back to your book where you have your logged information and just make sure your suspension is set where it needs to be. So we'll go ahead and check our fork and our shock. So we'll start by removing the caps, setting them aside. Now for this bike, we have a rider that weighs about 170 pounds, and his preferred fork pressure is 80 psi. So I'm going to go ahead and check. We're just under 80 psi. Usually that's from hooking the shock pump up and losing that 5 psi in the line. So we're going to go ahead and reset our fork pressures.
Tilt it more just a little bit. There we go.
I'm going to reset our fork pressures, and it looks like we're good to go right there. Go ahead, pull this off. Reinstall our cap. So at 170 pounds, you'll see in our user manual that we recommend 190 psi in the rear shock. So we're going to go ahead and check. As you see there, we're just slightly under that. So we're going to go ahead, do a couple pumps in order to get us to that 190 mark. All right, so now that we see we're at 190 psi, which is what this rider prefers and what gets us to our 30% sag measurement on our rear shock, go ahead and remove the pump. We're going to put the valve cap back on there to keep the dirt and grime out of there. But now that we've gone through everything else that we need to in the stand, we're going to do the final step, and we're going to apply some chain lube to the chain. Now I use a little bit different procedure. Maybe some use it, but we'll kind of demonstrate that. I just think it's the better way to get everything nice and lubricated. So we're going to just spin the cranks just like everybody else would. Nice and smooth, simple. Make sure all the rollers and pins are coated. Then we'll come back with your dirty rag and then just simply hold the rag on the bottom of the chain, which will activate the rollers, which will help pull the lube in between the rollers and the pins themselves. We'll do a couple revolutions of that. And then we'll continue with cleaning the chain. So pretty simple, but it just ensures the lube gets into the chain properly and then also cleans all the residual lube off the top. All right, so now that we've completed everything that we need to complete while the bike's in the stand, we're going to go ahead and pull it down. All right. So with the bike on the ground, we're going to just double check the function of the seat post. Goes down nice and smooth, goes up nice and quick, doesn't have any hesitation with the lever, and there's no sponginess at the top. So we know the seat post is good and we're not going to have any functionality issues with that during our ride. So next and finally, we're going to move to our brakes. Nothing crazy here, just a simple pull of the brakes, make sure everything feels firm, there's no sponginess, make sure your lever reach is good and everything is set up the way you want to be. After that, I think we're pretty much ready to go. I wouldn't have any worries about this bike on the trail.